The humid Houston air hung heavy, a thick, almost palpable blanket clinging to everything. Even at 10 p.m., the heat radiated off the asphalt of the A1 self-storage parking lot, shimmering in the sickly yellow glow of the sodium vapor lamps. Crickets chirped their relentless chorus, a monotonous soundtrack to my new, decidedly unglamorous career. I'd traded the roar of oil rigs for the silence of storage units. A steep fall, even for someone used to hitting rock bottom. But pride doesn't pay rent, and desperation has a way of redefining acceptable working conditions. A1 self-storage was a sprawling testament to humanity's need to hoard. Rows upon rows of corrugated steel boxes, each a repository of forgotten memories, unwanted possessions, and the occasional dark secret, I imagined. The whole place felt like a concrete graveyard, a place where things went to be slowly consumed by dust and rust. The beige paint, meant to be inoffensive, only added to the overwhelming sense of bleakness. It was a 24-hour facility, which meant someone had to be the lonely sentinel during the darkest hours. Tonight, that was me. My predecessor, a guy named Kevin, looked like he hadn't seen sunlight or a full night's sleep in years. His eyes darted around nervously, and his hands trembled slightly as he handed me the keys. His training was a masterclass in rushed ambiguity. "Patrol the perimeter every couple of hours," he mumbled, pointing a shaky finger at a beat-up clipboard hanging on the wall. "Cameras are mostly for show. Don't let anyone in without checking their ID, and I mean really check it. We've had issues." He swallowed hard, his Adam's apple bobbing nervously. He hesitated, glancing towards the back of the vast complex. "Stay away from the back corner, the far back. Just don't go there. It's complicated." Before I could press him on what exactly was complicated, he practically sprinted to his battered pickup truck, kicking up a cloud of dust and gravel as he sped away. I was left standing there, the keys heavy in my hand, feeling a distinct sense of unease settling over me. It wasn't just the heat, or the crickets, or the sheer isolation of the place. It was something Kevin hadn't said, something lurking in the shadows of his hurried explanation. The office was a tiny windowless cube, furnished with a battered metal desk, a squeaky vinyl chair, and a bank of security monitors displaying grainy, black and white images of the storage units. The air smelled faintly of stale coffee and dust. It felt less like a workspace and more like a holding cell. I sat down, the chair protesting with a loud groan. I surveyed the monitors, each showing a seemingly identical view of endless rows of metal doors. It was the visual equivalent of counting sheep, guaranteed to induce sleep. I picked up the facility map, a faded hand-drawn diagram of the complex, and started tracing the patrol route with my finger. Rows A through Z, hundreds of units, all neatly numbered, except for a blank space at the very back. A missing section. A place Kevin clearly didn't want me to go. The initial boredom of the night shift started to give way to a low-level anxiety, fueled by Kevin's cryptic warning and the sheer oppressive emptiness of the storage facility. I tried to focus on the mundane, checking the locks on the main gates. Twice. Making a pot of coffee that tasted suspiciously like the vintage brew Kevin had warned me about. And flipping through the channels on a tiny, ancient TV that seemed to only pick up static and infomercials. Around 1:30 a.m., restlessness got the better of me. I decided to explore the office itself, hoping to find something, anything, to break the monotony. The desk was mostly empty, save for a few crumpled receipts, a broken stapler, and a thick layer of dust. Underneath the desk, however, I found something more interesting. It was a folded piece of paper, tucked away in a dark corner, almost as if someone had deliberately hidden it. The paper was yellowed and brittle, the edges frayed. I carefully unfolded it, revealing a set of handwritten instructions. The ink was faded, a dark, almost purplish black, and the handwriting was cramped and angular, giving the impression of someone writing in a hurry or under duress. The heading read, "A One Self-Storage, Night Shift Protocol, Addendum." Below that, a list of numbered rules, some with subpoints using a bizarre mix of letters, Roman numerals, and symbols. Rule 1. Regular patrols are required. Follow the designated route. See map. Ensure to follow it precisely. Rule 2. Maintain constant vigilance. Report any unusual activity to management. Day shift only. Do not attempt to handle any situations on your own. Rule 3. The coffee machine is prone to occasional malfunction. Do not attempt to repair it yourself. We have professionals to handle this. Use the thermos. D. Unit 1906. This unit is not listed on any official records. It does not exist on any maps. 3. Do not approach Unit 1906 under any circumstances. B. Do not attempt to open Unit 1906. Curiosity can be detrimental. Gamma. If you hear any sounds emanating from Unit 1906, ignore them. Do not investigate. Pretend you hear nothing. V. Under no circumstances should you make eye contact with anything you may see near Unit 1906. Direct observation is inadvisable. Rule 4. If the office phone rings, answer it only if the caller ID displays a 1 management. All other calls are to be ignored. They are not for you. I reread the rules. Unit 1906, the missing unit, the one Kevin had implicitly warned me about. The rules weren't just guidelines. They were desperate pleas, warnings etched in ink by someone who had clearly experienced something terrifying. The emphasis on not approaching, not opening, not investigating, and especially not making eye contact. It painted a picture far more disturbing than any rat infestation or potential burglar. I looked back at the facility map, my eyes drawn to the blank space at the back corner, where Unit 1906 should have been. It was a void, an absence, a deliberate omission that now screamed with unspoken danger. The hum of the fluorescent lights seemed to intensify, pressing down on me. The silence of the storage facility, which had previously been merely boring, now felt charged, expectant. And I knew, with a sickening certainty, that my night was about to get a lot less boring and a lot more terrifying. My watch showed 1:58 a.m. My gaze darted to the ancient, dust-covered clock on the wall. 1:59 a.m. One more minute. I felt a ridiculous urge to hold my breath, as if the simple act of breathing might somehow trigger whatever was waiting in Unit 1906. The silence of the office was almost unbearable. A thick, suffocating blanket punctuated only by the incessant hum of the fluorescent lights and the frantic thumping of my own heart. 2 a.m. The pounding started abruptly, a deep, resonant thud that seemed to vibrate through the concrete floor and up into my bones. It wasn't a frantic, desperate pounding. It was slow, deliberate, and rhythmic. My first instinct was to grab the phone to call someone, but the rules. If you hear any sounds emanating from Unit 1906, ignore them. Do not investigate. The pounding continued, each thud echoing in the silence. It was undeniably coming from the back of the facility, from the area where Unit 1906 should have been, the blank space on the map, the forbidden zone. I forced myself to breathe, to think. The rules said to ignore it, to pretend I didn't hear anything. But how could I? The sound was overwhelming, a physical presence that filled the small office. It felt like the heartbeat of something monstrous, something lurking just beyond the veil of reality. I tried to focus on the security monitors, on the grainy black and white images of the storage units. Rows and rows of identical metal doors, bathed in the sickly yellow light. Nothing seemed out of place, but I knew, with a sickening certainty that something was out of place. Something was very, very wrong. The pounding wasn't just a sound, it was a vibration, a pressure against my chest. I could feel it in my teeth, in my bones, in the pit of my stomach. It was a primal, instinctual fear, the kind that bypasses logic and reason and goes straight to the core of your being. I wanted to run, to bolt out of the office, to get as far away from this place as possible. But I was paralyzed, trapped by the rules, by the unseen presence that was making its existence known with each bone-jarring thud. It wasn't a simple knocking. It was as if something was testing its cage, wanting to be let out. The lights flickered. It was very brief, but I noticed. The pounding continued, each thud a hammer blow against my resolve. Ignore it. Do not investigate. The words echoed in my mind, a desperate mantra, but the sound was hypnotic. It drew me in, pulling me towards the back of the facility, towards the forbidden zone. Against my better judgment, against every instinct screaming at me to stay put, I found myself moving. I grabbed the heavy-duty flashlight from the desk, its beam a pathetically small weapon against the encroaching darkness. The walk to the back of the facility felt like an eternity. The rows of storage units seemed to stretch on forever, the metal doors reflecting the flashlight beam back at me, creating a disorienting maze of light and shadow. The air grew colder, the humid Houston night replaced by a chilling draft that seemed to emanate from the unseen unit. The pounding grew louder with each step, a deafening rhythm that drowned out all other sounds. I reached the end of the row, the blank space where Unit 1906 should have been. And there it was. It wasn't a blank space. It was a unit, identical to all the others except for one crucial difference. It had no number, no identifying mark, just a plain metal door shrouded in shadow. The pounding was coming from inside. I hesitated, my hand hovering over the door handle. The rules screamed at me to turn back, to run, to forget I'd ever seen this place. But it was too late. Curiosity, that most dangerous of human traits, had taken hold. I took a deep breath, the cold air stinging my lungs, and pressed my eye to the small gap between the door and the frame. The flashlight beam cut through the darkness, revealing nothing. At least, nothing that made sense. The unit was small, maybe 10 by 10 feet. It contained only two objects: a simple wooden chair facing a large, ornate mirror that took up most of the opposite wall. The mirror's surface was dark, reflecting not the room, but an empty, swirling void. It looked like a window into another dimension, a place where the laws of physics didn't apply. The room itself looked undisturbed. The pounding had stopped. I blinked, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. An empty room, a chair, a mirror reflecting nothingness. It was bizarre, unsettling, but not terrifying. Not yet. Then I realized something. The mirror wasn't reflecting nothing. It was reflecting the room, the chair, the walls, the ceiling, everything except me. I should have been there, standing in the doorway, my face illuminated by the flashlight. But the mirror showed only emptiness, as if I didn't exist. A wave of dizziness washed over me. I stumbled back, my heart hammering against my ribs. I had broken the rules. I had looked. And now, something was looking back. The pounding had stopped, but I don't think what was causing it had left. The mirror still reflected the empty room. I stared at the mirror, my breath catching in my throat. The empty room stared back, a perfect replica of the space I was in, except for the glaring, terrifying omission of me. It was like looking into a parallel universe, one where I simply didn't exist. Then, the reflection shifted. Not the whole reflection, just a part of it. a flicker of movement in the area where my reflection should have been. A slow, gradual change, like something coalescing out of the void. A shape began to form, a blurry, indistinct outline that gradually sharpened, solidified. It was my reflection, or at least a twisted, distorted version of it. Same clothes, same build, same general features, but wrong. The reflection's eyes blinked. Once, twice. My own eyes were wide, unblinking, locked on the mirror. I hadn't blinked. The reflection's mouth twitched, the corners curving upward in a slow, deliberate smile. It was a smile that didn't reach the eyes, a smile that was all teeth and no warmth, a predatory, chilling expression that sent a shiver of pure terror down my spine. I wanted to scream, to run, to smash the mirror, to do anything to break the connection. But I was frozen, paralyzed by a mixture of fear and morbid fascination. The reflection took a step forward. I hadn't moved. My body was still pressed against the doorframe. My flashlight clutched in a white-knuckled grip. But in the mirror, my reflection was moving, stepping closer to the glass, its smile widening, its eyes glinting with an unnatural light. It was as if the mirror was no longer a reflective surface, but a window, a portal. And something was coming through, something that wore my face, but wasn't me, something that was breaking free from the confines of the reflection and entering my reality. The reflection raised its hand, mirroring my own, except its fingers were too long, too thin, ending in sharp, pointed nails that glinted in the flashlight beam. It pressed its hand against the glass, the distorted reflection of the flashlight beam casting strange, dancing shadows on the walls of the unit. The air grew colder, the metallic scent intensifying. I could feel a pressure building in the room, a sense of something unnatural, pressing against the boundaries of reality. The reflection's smile widened. It was going to come out. The rest of the night passed in a blur of terror and adrenaline. I don't remember leaving Unit 1906. Don't remember returning to the office. Don't remember anything except the reflection's smile burned into my mind. I somehow managed to stay rooted to the spot, the image of the thing in the mirror seared into my brain. I must have blacked out from sheer fear, because the next thing I knew, sunlight was streaming through the grimy office windows, and the clock on the wall read 6 a.m. My shift was over. I felt wrong, drained, hollowed out, like something had been scooped out of me, leaving behind an empty shell. The metallic scent, fainter now, still clung to the air, a lingering reminder of the night's horrors. I stumbled out of the office, blinking in the harsh morning light. The storage facility, bathed in the golden glow of dawn, looked almost normal. Almost. The day shift manager, a burly, middle-aged man named Bob, arrived a few minutes later, whistling a cheerful tune. He stopped short when he saw me, his smile faltering. "You okay, son? You look like you've seen a ghost." I tried to speak, but my voice was hoarse, my throat raw. I'm fine," I managed to croak out. Bob frowned, his eyes scanning me up and down. "You sure? You're pale as a sheet. And did you change the uniform?" I looked down. I was still wearing the same dark blue uniform I'd put on the night before. "No," I said, my voice shaking. "This is it." Bob stared at me, his expression shifting from concern to confusion, then to something that looked disturbingly like recognition. But not recognition of me. "You're the new guy, right?" he asked, his voice hesitant. "Taking over for Kevin?" My blood ran cold. I am the new guy," I said. "I started last night. You're Bob, right? The manager?" Bob's eyes narrowed. He took a step back, his hand instinctively moving towards the phone on the wall. "I don't know who you are, pal," he said, his voice hard. "But you need to leave. Now. We've already got a night guard." I stared at him, my mind reeling. He didn't recognize me. He was looking at me, but he wasn't seeing me. It was like I was a ghost, a phantom, invisible to the world. I tried to explain, to tell him about the night, about Unit 1906, about the reflection, but the words caught in my throat. He wouldn't believe me. He couldn't believe me. Bob picked up the phone, his eyes fixed on me, his expression a mixture of suspicion and fear. "I'm calling the cops," he said. "You need to leave. Now." I backed away, slowly, my hands raised in a gesture of surrender. I turned and fled, stumbling out of the office and into the harsh morning light. I didn't look back. I didn't dare. I was no longer an employee. I was no longer recognized. I was nothing. I didn't go home. I couldn't. I didn't know where to go. I was a ghost, unseen, unrecognized, a living void walking through a world that no longer acknowledged my existence. I wandered the streets of Houston, a lost soul adrift in a sea of indifferent faces. The sun set, casting long, distorted shadows that seemed to mirror my own fractured state. I found myself drawn back to a one-self storage, pulled by an invisible force, a morbid curiosity to see what had become of the place, of the unit, of me. I approached cautiously, staying in the shadows, avoiding the security cameras, not that they would have registered me anyway. The facility looked the same, bathed in the sickly yellow glow of the sodium vapor lamps, the rows of storage units stretching into the darkness. I made my way to the back corner, to the location of Unit 1906. My heart pounded in my chest, a frantic drumbeat against the silence. The unit was still there, still unmarked, still radiating an aura of cold, unsettling dread. But something was different. The door was slightly ajar. I hesitated, every instinct screaming at me to turn back, to run, to disappear into the night. But I couldn't. I had to know. I pushed the door open, the metal groaning in protest. The metallic scent, stronger than ever, washed over me, a wave of nausea threatening to overwhelm me. The flashlight I no longer held. The unit was empty. The chair was gone. The mirror was gone. There was nothing inside but bare concrete walls and the lingering scent of something ancient and hungry. Except, in the center of the floor, neatly folded, was my uniform. The dark blue shirt and pants. The A1 self-storage logo clearly visible. It was as if someone had carefully laid it out. A final offering. A marker of a life consumed. I stared at the uniform, a chilling realization dawning on me. I hadn't just been unrecognized. I had been replaced. The reflection hadn't just come through the mirror. It had taken my place. I was the void now. The empty space. The reflection that no longer had a source. I backed away from the unit, my mind reeling. I was gone. Erased. Replaced by a creature from another dimension. A being that wore my face and walked in my world, while I was trapped in a state of non-existence. I turned and fled, disappearing into the Houston night. A ghost in a city of millions. Forever unseen. Forever unrecognized. The pounding had stopped for me, but I could hear it faintly in the distance. A constant reminder of the door I had opened and the price I had paid. The unit was empty now, but ready for the next unfortunate soul who dared to break the rules. The reflection was out and wearing my form, living my life. And no one even noticed I'm gone.